I kept trying to like send the invite, cancel it, send it again. I was like, I don't know what the heck's going on.
It just works so well.
I know.
Thanks,
It's always like a toss
technology.
up. What's that?
Thanks, technology.
Ugh, every time. Every time.
Yeah.
It's always a toss up. Cool. Well, there's already a couple people on. So, hey guys, how's it going?
What's
Uh,
up?
that's exciting. We didn't think anybody was going to be on because it's the work day. So, sweet.
Lunch break.
Yeah. What?
Update.
Cool. Well, I know we're kind of a few minutes behind schedule, so we'll kind of move this along. Today is I think it's the 12th Chats with Fire.
Nice.
Yeah, kind of hard to believe.
Yeah.
So today I have on Ann Martin. I don't know, we've probably been chatting for the past year at least, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think you were one of the first people that I talked to you about coming on, and then just schedules got hectic and whatever, but we made it. We're
Here
here
we are.
today.
Sorry.
Yes.
Nice.
I'm super excited. Going to be talking a little bit about like mental health, that whole realm. I'm also super interested to hear more about your background. I know you are a badass human of many hats, so I think it'd be awesome if you could give us like kind of a recap on your background, and definitely with your mental health journey and your counseling and whatnot now, like how you made that transition. I'm super, super interested to hear about that. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
Well, number one, thanks for taking the time to have me on. I do appreciate just being able to connect and open up with people, so that's always awesome for me.
Yeah.
For those of you that do not know, my name is Anne. I am now a mental health practitioner, and I have been a first responder for over a decade. I spent 7 years in wildland fires, so that's kind of where a lot of the conversations will kind of come from, but the whole journey is really important too. So I grew up in Colorado. I went to college in Colorado, went to high school there, and growing up, I got kind of sucked into a bunch of the like police TV shows and stuff like that, and I thought it was going to be the coolest thing to be a cop. And I had a big serving heart, even as a young kid. I was just in tune with everybody. I was a really great helper consistently. So it was just like almost made for me at that point. And I was like, yeah, it's a path I wanted to go down. So I talked to a bunch of people, got a mentor, went on a whole bunch of ride-alongs to figure some stuff out, and I was like, okay, it's the path I want to take. So I went through college with a bachelor's degree in sociology and a minor in criminal justice and computer science. And after graduation, I actually had an offer at a sheriff's department before I graduated. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to go to the academy like 2 weeks after my graduation, which I actually ended up skipping. Just was like, it's just a hat, whatever. So I skipped my graduation and went directly into the police academy and graduated in 6 months and went directly into a jail position. So I actually ended up working in the jail for quite some time. And a little bit of growth information on that journey was I actually failed out of my like second rotation of training. And I think a little bit of it was just like personal management. I didn't manage my sleep very well, my diet or anything, and all that got to me, and I ended up failing, I think, my second round, so I had to redo it, which for me was like a huge failure. Like, oh my God, I failed something in my life.
Oh no.
um,
Chaos.
Also, given though I was 21 years old, so it's like I didn't know jack about life.
Yeah.
I had no idea really. And I'm not that much older now, but old enough to know a little bit different.
Yeah.
So I spent 3 years with the sheriff's department, and I learned a lot, and a lot of it was really very difficult. Dealing with people, communicating with people, learning how to sustain my body, learning how to sustain a diet, learning how to just like function with lots of support or no support, whatever it happened to be. I ended up getting pretty injured even at the sheriff's department. I ended up breaking my leg and have to have surgery. And I broke a knuckle in a fight with an inmate at the time. So I was getting pretty beat up, like such is my life. And those kind of
Yeah.
got to me. So I got put on a light duty assignment of being an internal investigator. Not like IA type strategies, but just like some of the other things like within the jail. And I ended up working kind of under some gang stuff in an attempt to decipher some of their like gang language, because they were communicating within and without, like outside of the jail. I did a bunch of phone interviews and stuff like that, and I learned a lot of communication skills and observation skills, and I was really happy with that. And then when I tried to move back after I had healed into a regular position, they kind of just squashed everything that I had just worked for. And the culture had gotten to the point where I wasn't getting supported. I wasn't healthy. My mental health was garbage. And in all this sea of things, I just didn't really recognize all of it. But I was like, something's got to budge, so I quit. And I had started Fire in 2012 as kind of like a technician, and I wasn't like out on too many fires. I was just kind of dabbling here and there in college. And I was like, no, I'll just go back to that. Even if it's for a couple years, we'll go back to fire and see if we can just like settle a little bit. And I stuck there for a long time. I went and started working with a county, and then I moved over to the private side. I've been working for contractors and cooperators for quite some time now. So I ended up working in Wyoming. I worked out of Colorado. I worked out of Montana, and I worked out of Idaho as well. So I've bounced all over the place. I've done fires all over the country at this point, south, north, east, west. And I have spent a lot of days on fire since then. In 2017, I think, I ended up getting a really bad head injury. And I don't remember all of it, but we were having a work day at the shop, and we were trying to put air ride seats in the fire truck. And I don't remember it, but somehow I ended up hitting my head on the open fire truck door on the very corner of it. So I split my scalp open, hit my skull on the door, and then hit the concrete after that, which was a giant mess. And of course, the hospital's like 45 minutes away, and it was just a giant hoopla without trying to use too many curse words here. And what they did was they stapled it up and sent me home. And so go back to work. It's fine. It was not fine. Not fine. So a couple of days later, I was still throwing up. I couldn't see. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't do anything. So they took me back to another hospital. And they said, here's some Zofran. Go back to work. And I was like, are you sure? So that's kind of where the shit show started, honestly. Was like, I'm just, because I trusted the doctors. You're supposed to be able to trust them, right? I was like, okay, I'll go back to work. And from there, my communication tanked, my attitude tanked, my motivation tanked. Everything just went downhill really quickly. And some of it was due to not being able to sleep. I couldn't sleep more than about 2 hours at a time. And that has huge detrimental effects on your physical body. And your mental health as well.
Absolutely.
So I was still fighting fires for most of that season. I think I went all the way up to September. And a buddy of mine got hurt at the same time, and my boss was like, you're done. I can't have you on the crew with the way that you're, like, able to support yourself right now. So I got medically relieved, and I was so mad at the time. And I was like, what the? Try and keep the cursing to a minimum. I was so angry and frustrated, and then it kind of turned inward back on myself, and I was just like, what is wrong with me? How come I can't just finish a fire season? You know, everybody told me I was fine. I'm trying to make it fine, and it wasn't, which was really difficult. So I ended up having to try and figure out, I went back to my parents' place after a while, and they're like, something's up. Like, we don't know what it is, but something is wrong. And some of it was I just couldn't communicate, all the same issues. Mentally, my attitude, my temper was this short. It was so small. And I was like, well, I guess I better go figure some stuff out. So I got scans done. I got testing done. I got all these things done. And they're like, well, the scans aren't real conclusive because it's been 6 months. So we can't see a lot of the damage, although it does look like something happened. So I was like, okay. They're like, well, we're going to recommend you to an occupational therapist, a physical therapist, a speech therapist. And I'm like, you're what? So in my mind, I had told myself I was okay because that's what everybody else had said, but I wasn't. So spending, it was probably 9 or so months in really intensive therapies, really consistently, like 3 to 4 days a week. I got humbled through a lot of that. And I spent a lot of time with a really good speech therapist of less trying to like articulate words in sentences and more trying to articulate what my brain thinking and have those words come out correctly from my mouth, essentially. So if I think up, you know, the quick brown dog jumps over the lazy fox, whatever it is, And
That brain to
that
mouth
never came
connection.
out. Yeah, it was always just jumbled or the wrong words, or I'd have to pause a lot, whatever it was, trying to like grasp at words.
Yeah.
And it took me a long time to get over that. I couldn't think, like we did a lot of math puzzles because I couldn't add anymore. I kind of became dyslexic. I lost the ability to read music. I
Uh,
lost a lot of things from something that seemed very simple.
right.
And this speech therapist kind of got to me of like, this is all neuroplasticity. We are rebuilding neural pathways in your brain for you to be able to speak again, for you to be able to communicate and feel really confident. And his big thing was like, you're just not confident. I was like, fuck you, I'm not. Of course I'm confident. And it's like, oh, he's actually right. Because I was so insecure about everything that was going on in my brain, I was like, no, he's totally right. So he sparked my interest in moving more into this mental health field, in that I could see where even a lot of my crew members, after I went back to fire, after finishing all those therapies, how detrimental their mindsets were, their habits were, their addictions were, and myself included. I was still in that boat. I was
Yeah.
still, partially addicted to alcohol. I was still had the awful mindsets as to like, yeah, we'll sleep when I'm dead type of thing. And through all the healing that I had done, that changed for me. Realizing how many things are actually important, realizing the relationships that are more important. Fire's always going to be there. There will always be fires. And just
Yep.
making that known to myself of, you don't have to go on every single assignment. It's okay. So that was huge. And after I got sparked with another coworker of mine, he's been a firefighter for a long time too. Many of you might know him. His name is Thomas Worm. He runs Mountain Mind Tricks. He kind of encouraged me to go do some training. So it's a cheap 4-day training. It's less than $100. Just go. I was like, I don't know. I do hard things. What have I got to lose? We'll go train for 4 days in mental health. I got hooked. I was like, wait, you can actually do these things without going through these crazy master's programs, without doing all this extra work. So I was like, yeah, let's see what I can do with this. And I just got more and more engaged in all of the work, seeing the progress in myself and seeing the progress in some of the people I was allowed to practice on. It's like, holy crap, this has monumental benefits that people aren't really seeing yet. So
Yeah.
I have plenty of certifications now. I got a couple up on the wall just to look professional. Thank you very much. I have a whole binder full of them, though. Between fires and mental health and police and everything, I have a whole binder full of certifications. Those don't matter as much to me as the people that I've been able to interact with and really watch and see change. And that's what I love about what I do now, is
That's cool.
working with people, finding out what they want, finding out what they're having trouble with, and just working in a really, really congruent relationship with them to work through all that stuff. And the benefit being that I've been a first responder for 12 years now, almost 12 years. I've probably not been through everything everybody else has been through, but I've seen a lot of the similar things.
Yeah.
And I've had to work through a lot of similar things. Being hurt on the job, doing SISMs, working with family deaths, working with all sorts of different things, coming up and working on dead people. And because I had my medic license for a while too, I understand. And that's the connection that I can bring. And I freaking love it because it allows you to break down and be honest. And that's huge. So that's where I sit now. And I love it.
You're radiating right now. Like,
I do that
no, but
myself.
that's really awesome, because I feel like there's quite a few people I've spoken with just in regards to, like seeing a counselor, mental health practitioner, whatnot, and what I've found is people are more apt to be like involved or engaged if they're with someone who's been through what they've been through, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, how many people do you know that are like, oh, I don't want to go talk to somebody who doesn't know my situation, who doesn't understand? So like, that's really cool that you have that, where, I mean, to me, that's such a like very specific niche kind of area that you get to cater to and help people out.
Yeah.
That's pretty badass.
Yeah, I love it too because, like I said, it was something that I had required when I first started to see, the psychologist-approved therapy that I had to go through. You have to go see a therapist now. I said, okay, I need to find somebody that's got all these qualifications. And now, understanding what I understand, it's less that you have to have these experiences for me to connect with you. It's you got to be able to make a connection with most people, and they have to have their own therapist. Because I have some scary, dark baggage, and if you aren't resourced, the therapist being,
Yeah,
then I don't know if I trust you. So me, as myself, I have a therapist and I have a coach because I need it.
I've heard that as well. That's,
You know?
yeah. Sweet.
Yeah. I'm not perfect. I'm not the best. I'm not any sort of guru. I am working through life just like everyone else. I just have different skill sets and knowledge. That's all.
I
And some of it may help
love
people, some of it may not.
I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I'm curious then, it's like your title, NLP, Neurolinguistics Practitioner. Is that
Programming.
program?
Neuro-linguistic programming. So
Okay, so
to break it down, neuro-linguistic programming, neuro is your nervous system. Basically anything that runs inside of your body, mainly your mind. And within that mind, within your neurological system, all of your experience of life is processed through your senses. So sight, sound, touch, smell, taste. Even kind of that sixth sense of your gut, like your intuition, that's also a sense.
yep.
Linguistic is basically verbal language and nonverbal communication. This also kind of incorporates something that we call internal representations, or your memories and your beliefs, and then how those things are basically, I want to say, like coded, ordered, and basically given meaning, essentially. That's kind of what some of that works into linguistics. This includes things like movies in your head, or pictures, sounds, feelings, taste, smells, words, especially like your self-talk. That's pretty big too in the linguistic part. And the programming is just your patterns in your neurology. We tend to discover or modify or use any of these patterns to achieve the things that we want to achieve. So there's always something running. It just depends on whether or not you're aware with it and how it's like serving you. So basically, NLP uses the language of the mind to reprogram our internal applications, like the programming, almost like an app kind of, to consistently support us in achieving
Oh, there we go. All right, you got me?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay, cool. Man, you were on a roll.
Yeah.
Uh, so you were saying like basically like explaining your way through NLP,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, I don't know where you cut off on what you were
I don't either.
going with.
So
Okay.
I'll explain the basics one more time just to make sure that everybody got it.
Yeah.
NLP uses the language of the mind. It then kind of reprograms our internal apps or internal resources that consistently support us in trying to get what we want really specifically. So our patterns and the things that we do, especially without thinking, are things that run our lives. Your habits, which foot do you put in your pant leg in the morning? Every single pattern has some sort of basis behind it and reasoning behind it. So seeing those and understanding those, the ones that are helping and hurting you, being able to change those once you've realized them, and then just sticking to it.
So I'm assuming because I like I don't know within the past year or two have been coming more around to like the way that I talk, so self-talk, like that impacts how I perceive myself and the world around me and the things that I do, like all of those add up. So I'm assuming a big part of, say meeting with a client, I'm assuming it would entail like really doing a lot of observation to kind of pinpoint like the specific behaviors and the thought processes, and then is it just I guess like a process of like shifting those and using tools to change to get the outcomes that you're looking for? Am I understanding that correctly?
Yeah, on a broad level, yes. I actually have a whole bunch of different kind of tools and techniques that I have the opportunity to use. I have things like breathwork. I have things like CBT. I use a concept from EMDR. Like I have all these different kinds of things. I use hypnotherapy. All these different tools can help you as a client figure out exactly who you are, how you're supporting who you are, what you want to change about it, and kind of acknowledging the things that you do want to change, and then figuring out ways that work and don't work, and then just sticking to those plans. So the main type of coaching that I do includes I do a free call with everybody just to make sure that we're both on the same page. I'm a good coach for you. The client's a good client for me. Just making sure and identifying things that the client wants, because sometimes just saying them out loud makes a big difference. Then we jump into a breakthrough session. I've mentioned it a couple of times before, but a breakthrough session is 2 days of more intensive things, which includes mental and emotional release, and that's actually very quick. Change can happen in an instant, and that's something that can happen very, very quickly if you're committed to the process. I trust it with my life. I've had incredible changes from them. I've done several on myself. After that, we end up doing the follow-up, utilizing the 4 requisites for change, which is basically step 1, release your baggage, release your limiting beliefs, get rid of all this crap, and start acknowledging the things that you want to get rid of. Number 2, create really positive goals and really get clear on your values and what you want. The third thing is focus. So making sure you have time and effort and consistency in doing these. And the last one is just take action. Take that step forward. Don't let these little tiny behaviors that we're going to change, the things that are really easy to do but also easy not to do, don't make them easy not to do. Make them really rewarding. Make them part of your process to move forward. So that's how I like to treat these. But I have a lot of resources for people too. So understanding that there's not just one path.
Yeah, that's really neat too, knowing that I've said this before, there's more than one way to skin a cat.
Oh, yeah.
It's not a box, like a one size fits all, I would assume. So that's good to know. And I mean, a lot of the topics that I've talked about with folks on here that deal with mental health, like every time something else comes up, that's a little bit more of a push for me. Like, I haven't gone to counseling. I haven't, sat down and been like, okay, give me the tools. It's more just kind of like the surface, like hearing a little bit about this, that, and the other. But as someone in that space who's thought about it, I like that, where it's not, okay, we're going to put you on this fast track and this is exactly A through Z, this is what you're going to do. Like, it's good to know there's some ebb and flow. There's different ways to go about it.
Yeah, so. Absolutely. And I've recognized this from personal experience as well, of sometimes you're going to get this huge information dump, or you're going to get this really key piece of information right here, right now. Like if I would say something that really directs towards you right now, but you're not in the best place to receive it. You've got something else going on in your mind. You've got, you're thinking about something else going on with family, your job tomorrow, your trip, whatever it is. You're not receiving the thing that I'm giving you in its entirety. So when we experience life through our senses, I was talking about kind of that neuro aspect, right. We tend to delete, distort, and generalize information as it comes into us. There are so many pieces of information in every single moment, our conscious mind can't take them all in. So what it does is it recognizes, so the things in your peripheral vision you're probably not paying attention to right now. They're still coming into your body, but you're not focused on this bookshelf over here. You're not focused, my dog's laying on the floor, I'm not completely focused on her, although I know she's there. Yeah. I'm not focused on the color that my wall is. There's so many different things, the chair that I'm sitting in, the sounds that I'm hearing, so many different things that I'm not paying attention to fully because I'm in conversation with you. Yeah. So as we do that, recognizing that when we move forward and when we gain all this information, sometimes it just doesn't land that moment. Sometimes you have to have this similar information given to you in a couple of different ways until it lands for you at the perfect time. And that's part of the beauty of the gratitude and the self-compassion journey as well, of recognizing that sometimes I was just too overwhelmed by everything else and the piece that I needed just didn't land when I needed it to. So you keep trying. You keep trying different things. You keep looking at the same type of information, especially in this realm of like personal growth and really trying to get better and have better connections, have better career, make more money, have a better, family life, whatever it happens to be, it's part of the process and it looks different for everybody. So for those of you that are nervous to start something or stuck or have lack of trust, which I had all three of those at some points, try something a little bit different or just talk to some people. It never hurts to just question people. Like for therapists, for those of you that actually want to go see a therapist or a coach like myself, test them out. You can interview them. You can figure out if they're a good fit for you. It's as much for you as it is for them. It's amazing.
I like that. I think you're the first person who's ever actually said that, like, on the dot.
Yeah. You get to interview them. Yeah, if anybody wants to be my client, interview me. See if I'm a good fit for you. This doesn't have to be like, oh my God, help me, I don't know what else to do. I have resources for those situations. And if you really want to grow, make sure that connection is really intentional. Make sure that connection is really positive for you. Not that, oh my God, you wear your hair like that? That's all I'm thinking about in the session. That's okay. We don't have to work together. You can do that with everybody, though.
You don't have to like my hair. Go see somebody else.
Yeah.
Oh man, I like that though. I mean, to me, it seems more like it's like a working relationship, right? Like you're
Absolutely.
investing in yourself, but also like in a way I, I don't know, you're kind of investing in the other person as well. Like if I go to you, do the interview process, and we're like, okay, cool, we're a good fit. Like you are providing me the tools. I am trusting you to provide me with that. I'm trusting you with my baggage,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's a give and a take, and
Absolutely.
that's pretty awesome.
And the big thing too is recognizing that this relationship can ebb and flow too. Having that trust and learning how to have trust, asking questions that are pertinent, saying, I don't feel comfortable with this right now, and that being a totally okay statement for both of you. Having the comfort to say, I can't do this right now. This is totally what I want to do right now. Make sure that that's a relationship that you can have those conversations in.
Yeah,
I wanted to check that comment.
yeah. I was getting ready to
What up,
read through
Fruit?
that too.
I love that comment. So the comment says, I always say you should date a counselor or a coach. If it's not a good fit for you, you can break up with them. It's so true. It can be that type of relationship because you're gaining trust and compassion and all these different experiences together in a kind of a similar way. Love it.
Yeah, I think I think if I like if I were to go do the interview process with a counselor, I mean, if there's somebody that I'm totally not vibing with and like I just don't like their approach, yeah, yeah, right? Like it's going to make me feel like it's that much more of a like, oh God, this is something that I have to go do. Like I don't like this person, whatnot. Like I've had a couple of friends who have told me with their counselors that they don't really get along, and they're like, well, I just kind of kept going because I didn't know any better. You know,
Mm,
I that was who I was supposed to see, and I just didn't like them, so I just kind of did it, but I didn't really get much out of it. And at that point, it's like, you kind of just wasting your time,
yeah.
you know?
I did
So,
that one. And then you learn better. You learn things. It's like, okay, that's really not working for me. What can I do instead? What do I want to do
yeah.
instead? What's going to be most vulnerability?
Okay.
See, Chris, just picking that up too. It takes a lot to be vulnerable with another human. Having genuine connection is so important. So to touch on vulnerability, that's where you make the most growth. Creating, we call it a container, creating some sort of container or space where you have the safety and the trust and the connection to be at your most vulnerable in that moment when you need it, that's what will change you. I have done a lot of work creating those containers on myself. I still go to retreats and therapy, like I said, on my own to grow as a person because I still think that's incredibly valuable. And having those spaces, both with people I've coached and with myself, to say, okay, I'm safe enough to say this. Nobody's going to judge me. Nobody's going to come back at me. None of this is going to get shared. That's huge. And having that space to say those things, man, this thing from my childhood is still bugging me. This person that I had to work on that died a couple years ago, still bothering me. And being able to say all the details of it or none of the details and just the feelings. There are so many different ways to kind of work through these things, and having the space and the comfort and the trust to be vulnerable is huge.
I love that. I was talking with somebody, won't name any names or say who it was in relation to myself, but I was talking with somebody a while back who I know this person's really been struggling with some deep stuff for probably 5, 6, 7 years at this point. And this person like, like says things that leads me to believe like, okay, they want the situation to change. They want to feel differently about it, like let go of the baggage and move past, but for whatever reasons will not like will not let go, will not take steps forward to just have that forward momentum. Like there's no progression, so it's just like being stuck in this one little point in time. And that was, I don't know where it came from, but it just came to me, and I kind of shared, like, the more that you hold on to that negativity, that situation, all that hurt, like, it's just going to fester, right? Like, it's a self-feeding loop in a way. And so by finding folks that you can trust, who you can go to and be open with, it's going to be very uncomfortable, but once you kind of let that go and you have that safe space where you can say, like, this is what I'm dealing with, and I need assistance, I need help to get past this, like, there's light on the other side. But at least in my experience, it does take getting vulnerable and being really uncomfortable sometimes to move past that. And I think it's very difficult. Like, it is uncomfortable to be vulnerable, but the reward on the other side, I think, is, I mean, that's priceless. That's the biggest payout.
Absolutely. But I wanted to touch on, you mentioned discomfort, and a little bit of this I just wanted to say too. The reason why people get stuck or people get triggered or people develop any of the behaviors that they don't really like, addiction or mindsets, whatever it happens to be, the reason for that matters, but it also doesn't matter. It matters to you as to this thing it's created, these behaviors, these patterns that they've created, and once you realize you don't want to be that way anymore, the reason doesn't matter. It just matters to what you're looking toward. So with this consistency and this vulnerability on all these things, on being open, accepting the fact that this is kind of a path, accepting that these things created you, but they don't have to be you. It's really important.
It's not defining who you are, per se.
No. You can change. I am a walking example of some pretty incredible neuroplasticity, and I'm still in the work of progress of that, and everyone can do it. If I can be in that state that I was years ago after my head injury and work to the point I am now, I promise you can make some progress. Promise. And it looks different for everybody, because some people just don't want to make giant leaps. They just want to get a little bit better. And sometimes that's the best path. So it really just depends on what you want. What are you recognizing you don't want, and what do you want? It's a big question for some people. What do you really want?
Boy, if I had $1 for every time somebody asked me that. It's, yeah, I mean, I think it's something we take for granted too. Like, people ask, what do you want? Or as kids, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? Or, what are you into? What do you want? And I mean, how many of us really sit there and think, what do I want? Like, regardless of what I've been, what I've done, what's happening in my life at this very moment, what do I want moving forward? Like, focus on that. What do you need to do to get there? I think that's very important as well.
Mm-hmm. We even break it down in some of my coaching programs. Like I said, everything is completely customized, and there's a few things that remain pretty similar, to where you create what we call an avatar. An avatar is like the version of you 10 years from now, and it has all these things that you are, essentially. I am confident. I am supportive. I am loved. I am whatever it is. Then you start to create action plans, little milestone steps of how to get there. This is the person I want to be. Here's all the little things I'm going to have to start doing, whether they're in order or not, of milestones, dominoes, things that I'm going to get to there. To be confident, I need to have more opportunities to be confident. What does that look like specifically? Starting to break down all these little things and making sure that you have not only the path to get to this avatar, but kind of the things that you don't want. So understanding, here's the little person that I am, here's the path from me to try and get there. Here's what this path looked like. So I understand the things that are on the path that are going to get me there. And I also understand the things on the path that won't get me there. So you have these really identifiable things that are specific. How do I get there? Well, I need to go talk to somebody I don't know to build more confidence in talking to people. Cool, really specific. And things that will not make me confident is wallowing in my self-pity when I make a mistake, and whatever it happens to be. Being able to recognize those and put them out into a plan and have support through a coach or a therapist or even just a really good friend to keep you accountable. These are the things that I want. This is the path I have to take to get there. Help me out, make sure I'm getting there.
Yeah. I think that accountability is huge too. I mean, I know in my own life, it seems like when I'm conversing with, I have like a pretty core group of women that I'm involved with. Like if I'm talking with them or, calling my mom or talking with my fiance, like having somebody who I get to check in with for, whatever it is, that helps. It's like, okay, cool. I'm not doing this alone. Somebody cares. Somebody wants me to succeed. And I I feel a little bit better doing it for more than just myself.
Yeah. Even
And that's
if
different
you
for
wanted to
everybody.
take a stretch as a person and say, I want to try working out for an extra 10 minutes this week. Tell one person that and tell them to hold you accountable.
Mm.
Like, hey, check in with me on Friday. Did you work out an extra 10 minutes this week? And if not, you can create, we can go into a whole nother conversation about boundaries, but if I don't do this, this is the consequence. If I do this, this is a consequence. Consequence is not necessarily a negative word, although that's how we portray it. Consequence is simply the results of actions.
Mm.
So, if I did this, what is the outcome? And then having somebody to walk that path with you makes it clearer, more confident, more achievable, and if you have a good relationship with them, having some feedback and perspective that is not just you in this path right here. They say, I see it from over here. Here's what this looks like to me. Here's some perspective. Here's some advice. You can take it or not take it. You can say, thanks, I really didn't need that. Or thanks, that sounds stupid to me right now. Or thank you, that's an incredible perspective I didn't see from my path right here.
Yeah.
Those are all really, really incredible options.
I like that. The perspective thing, that's big for me too, because I'm the kind of person, like, I will get so focused on something where I'm like, oh, I'm not doing enough. I need to do this more. Oh, this is really difficult. I'm really bad at this. And then to hear somebody else be like, hey, well, this is how I see it. Like, you're doing okay. You're hanging in. That's huge.
That's actually why I talk to like my therapist a lot too. It's like, man, I'm really struggling. I'm beating my head against this wall. I'm trying to bulldoze through all this crap, not for lack of effort, not for lack of trying or planning or creating. I'm like, I just can't see it any differently. I'm going to explain this whole thing to you. Please tell me what you see and give me something else. The value in that alone can be life-changing. The value in just having someone else assist you in looking at a situation, whether it's something that happened to me this morning or something that happened to me in childhood. Just having that perspective is huge. And being open to that is something else too. Are you in a space where I'm going to ask for that help, ask for that perspective, and be able to receive it? Making sure that you check in with yourself too when you start to do these really vulnerable things. Make sure it's the right person. Make sure it's the right time for you. Make sure you're in the right setting. So if I'm trying to talk to my therapist in the middle of a bar, not gonna happen. There's setting, there's the right people, there's a lot of things that need to go into this. Make sure you're creating those things for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You have a lot of value.
I like that. Very good words.
Yeah.
Like it. Cool. I feel like I need to like absorb everything that you just said too a little bit. So if I'm at a loss for words, like usually that's what's happening.
And you get to watch the recording again, so this is perfect.
Exactly. Man.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people too, and myself included, previously, I'm coming around to it, obviously, but I mean there's a lot of stigma with like, going to like going to see somebody to talk about your stuff, right? And I had this thought the other day where I was like, every time that I speak with somebody that's close to me and I, kind of unload or I just talk and say, hey, this is what I'm going through, that person gives me perspective. That's feedback. Like you said, I kind of take it or leave it, whatever it's worth. We all kind of do that anyways, right? So in a way, it's kind of like we all go through therapy on our own. And so I love the fact that more people are talking about therapy in the sense of like, you have tools, like you're trained in these things. So being able to pass that on to people, I think that's the value. And I hope a lot of people are also starting to see that as well, where it's like, okay, well, you can bitch and moan and complain to somebody and you can say the same shit over and over and over again. That's cool. Or like go see somebody who has tools to like help you change that.
Mhm.
Like if you're struggling, go do something about it.
Absolutely. And just a note there as well is if you're really concerned about somebody too that's kind of in that path of like they come to you and say, I don't need advice, but I just need to bitch right now, and they keep bitching about the same thing over and over and over again. You cannot force them to go to therapy, to change their life, to see anything. You can offer perspective, and you can show them through your own walk how it looks to change. And sometimes you can just say, hey, I think you might need this. And if you get shot down, being okay with that's who they are. That's a projection of them. These difficult conversations that we have with a lot of people, that's usually a projection of that other person. It's not about us. That was one of the biggest lessons I've learned in the past couple of years is quit taking everything so damn personally. And it's easy to say that. It's easy to practice it like in a leadership role or something like that. But when you're connected to someone and having them say something harsh or having them be in their own baggage and yelling and screaming or even just having some sort of aspect about them, it's probably more about them than it is about you. And supporting them in any way that you can, supporting yourself in any way that you can, recognizing you're not your thoughts. You're not everything that comes out of your mouth. You're not all of your habits. You are that and your intentions, your values, your connections, your work ethic. Every good thing about you is combined with everything that you want to change.
Mm-hmm. That's like one of the 4 agreements. Don't take everything so personally.
Absolutely. Yeah, if you guys are looking for a book before season, read the 4 Agreements.
Phenomenal book. I read it last year, and I keep telling myself, like, pull that off the shelf again. You need to get in that again.
I think I read it about every year. It's that good.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's a big thing for me, too, is, like, realizing, like you just said, I mean, the way that somebody else perceives or reacts to something that I say, like, that's not always a reflection of actually what I said. That's their baggage in their life and what they're going through. And the same, like sometimes the stuff that I respond to other people, like, is it really towards them or is it towards something that I'm dealing with myself somewhere back here?
Yeah.
It's kind of an interesting thought.
And that's a huge awareness as well, is recognizing that I have all this stuff that's going in my head. I've got a trip, I've got a dispatch, I've got fire season coming up, I got training, I got family. And then realizing you're in a conversation with somebody. Something that has been coming up for me a lot recently, which I think is important to mention here, is listening. We all know to be a good listener, you have 2 ears, 1 mouth, whatever. You learn to listen to different people in different ways, especially depending on your position. Sometimes as a leader, I don't always listen to every little thing that my people say because sometimes it's just not important. And the way you want to connect with people, if I really want to connect with you, I'm going to sit here and listen to you in a way that I'm not thinking about the next thing I want to say, thinking about, did I send that email, thinking about, did I turn the oven off, thinking all these other things. I'm not thinking about that. I am listening to you. I'm listening to the perspective you are coming with. I'm listening to your words, your passion, your tone. Where are you coming from and what are you trying to communicate to me? Not taking any sort of bias of my own and really listening at an intense level. If you can do that with more people more often, you yourself will get to listen to yourself that way. So as I learn to listen to you in communication with you and really take in all the words and intentions that you have in this communication, I learned to do that with myself. And that has profound impacts when you start to get good at that.
Yeah. I often think of communication in terms of I'm not just listening. Like you said, it's the tone, it's the body language, it's all of those things, right? But like to me, the goal in communicating with somebody is not for me to just perceive what you're giving me, but it's for me to like really understand the way in which you're intending it. Because the way that I can take something is very different than what you intend. And I've had to catch myself a lot of times, like, you know, somebody might say something and immediately like the hair on the back of my neck starts to go up or I get like ruffled or whatever it is. But I have to sit back and be like, okay, well, maybe they didn't intend it like that. You know, oh, I know, Anne, like you're a good person. You're not just trying to make me angry by saying XYZ. So I think that whole process of like just being able to step back and think, okay, am I putting my own, again, like my own baggage onto this situation, or am I being fully present really trying to understand like where you are coming from. Because if
Mm-hmm.
you're just speaking freely, being vulnerable, giving me a message, I need to be willing to almost like match your vulnerability and like meet you where you're coming from for me to fully understand.
Yeah. And knowing, too, that there's a lot of emotion that comes through communication. So if I'm really angry, anger is going to come through my communication. If I'm really sad, sadness may come through my communication. If I'm really excited, excitement's going to come through my communication.
Mm-hmm.
Noticing that your mind, your body, your gut, your intuition, all of these things are connected. Something that we teach you. You have a spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical body. There's 4 different parts to you. That's just kind of how we generalize it. I'm not going to say that those are hard bounds. However, it's just kind of a way that we can kind of consciously grasp this concept. So each of those aspects is going to communicate with you at all times. It's going to have intentions. It's going to have values that contribute to whatever you're experiencing, whatever you're trying to communicate. So spiritually, where are you at with your connection with your higher purpose, with God, with whatever you're trying to communicate with, whatever is bigger than you? Your mental body, your thoughts, your communication with yourself, that inner dialogue, or just the intentions that you have in your mind. Your emotional body, the feelings that you feel, the connection between the mind and the body itself, the energies you can feel. If you sit here and just think about it, you can start to feel tingling in your hands almost. You can start to feel how you're sitting in the chair. Like I said, we're just deleting, distorting, generalizing all these pieces of information. They're still there. You're still receiving all that information and realizing that some of that still gets involved in all these things, and including the physical body, obviously. How you stand, how you communicate, how you slouch, how you present yourself just overall. All those have a big impact on how you communicate, how you show up in life. And those are all things you can change, too. It doesn't have to be concrete.
I'm probably smiling like a fool right now.
I love
I
it.
love I love, I mean, I have a degree in communication, but that's been a couple of years ago. I also minored in American Sign Language, and a big part of the language is it's not just your hands. People think like, oh yeah, you talk with your hands, but like there's so many expressions and like it's a full, like to me it's a full body experience because you're using your body, your entire body as the vessel to communicate. And so just kind of talking about all this, I'm just like thinking like through all those things. It's pretty cool. So
Yeah. And scientifically, just to throw numbers out there because I think they're cool, in communication, there are 3 different parts. Your words, like a text message or an email or just the simple words that are coming out of my mouth, communicate 7% between people. Your tonality, your fluctuation, your speed equates to about 33%. Your really physical presence, your body language, everything else that you can take in with your senses, mainly sight, but everything else you can take in with your senses in a communication, it's like 53 or 54%. Makes a big difference. So text messages, take those with a grain of salt and a lot of perspective. You're not getting very much. Don't get mad at them all the time.
yes, I would say that is one thing. The amount of times I've gotten upset over a text message or sent one and somebody else has gotten upset and then like you come together face to face and you communicate about it and it's like, man, we were so far off the mark. Like
What
it is
happened?
Yeah.
Sorry.
I thought we were talking about hot dogs and you're talking about vacation on Maui. Like what?
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. Man. I love all this. This is great.
Me too. Me too. And I'm so glad that I've had the opportunity to like dive into it and still keep a bunch of my fire roots and still keep a lot of my connections and conversations with people really open and still incorporate all these new things that I've learned and been able to work with. And a lot of the work that I've done on myself is the things that I get to present to other people. Like I said, if I can go from that one really dark, awful place of mindset and habits and lack of communication with myself and others to the point where I'm at now, I love being able to share it. I love being able to teach people it. And the growth that I see, not only in my clients, but just in like people that I get to talk to of like, hey, I have a perspective. Would you like it? Just that is super cool. Creating that space for vulnerability, creating that space to be open with people, That's huge. Fire crew or not, although I do love just creating space. I love kind of being the crew therapist sometimes, for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. So what are you like kind of looking forward to then? I know you kind of have like your own practice going. Are you like, do you have any big kind of plans for the future? I know you mentioned before going live, I think you had mentioned some retreats or whatnot.
Yeah, so I currently have a part-time job mainly because I love leadership. I love leading people. So I actually work part-time on a swing shift where I get to lead all night long, and I freaking love it. My coaching practice lasts most of the time in the mornings. I will see clients in the mornings. We'll do breakthrough sessions on the weekends. We'll do hypnotherapy. We'll do breath work. I have all sorts of different things that I love doing in the mornings for my clients. Goals that I've got are, yes, I have. How much of that did you lose?
Probably a good little chunk, but it's all right. Keep going. You're on a roll.
Okay. I have a coaching practice I do in the mornings. I really want to, in the future, develop more opportunities for my specialties are first responders, obviously, and people that are already a little ways on their growth path. So somebody that's done, like, I have a good meditation practice. I know what all these concepts are. I love working with those people and growing them, especially spiritually, but in their careers and their relationships, whatever. So my idea going forward is to create a bunch of these different modalities. I do practice breath work locally, live, but I also have a bunch of different online practices that I specialize for people or small groups. And we do have a few retreats coming down the line. I don't want to say too much about them just because nothing has been concrete. I do work with Thomas Worm a little bit with Mountain Mind Tricks, so there's an occasional collaboration with him on retreats. However, I'm trying to do a few things on my own as well, and just logistically it's been a bit difficult. So most likely next year is when we will have more options for people, weekend type things, especially during the off season, 2 or 3 days where you're going to have the opportunity to create this container, to get vulnerable with people that understand you, and to gain some skills and experiences that will allow you to grow and move forward. So that's what I'm looking to create for people. I do that in my coaching and one-on-ones, but the group setting will accelerate all of your growth. In any of my experience and in any of my clients' experience, the group setting makes it better. So we're trying to create that in a more consistent manner for sure.
I love it.
Yeah.
That'll be super fun. I'm really excited to see how that like just flows and turns out.
Yeah. We're going to try and get quite a few of them up, but like I said, logistically, it's going to take some time. So please be patient with me. If you ever have any questions, if you want to get in on some personal work first, or set up like even a small group, if you guys in your crew want to set up like a mini retreat, I can try and make that work. So I'm always open to communications. I'm open to ideas and opportunities that we can jump into. That's how I've been able to grow is, hey, there's this little passing thing. Jump on that. See what happens. Get on that asteroid.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, you were talking about like kind of your journey and how you got started with it. I mean, that's kind of what happened anyways, right? Like you had that one little thing and you were like, cool, I'm gonna check it out. Like that one class, $100, give it a shot. And
Yeah,
now look what you're
there were two
doing.
of those. I had the one class that was $100, and then I had one breathwork session. My first introduction to breathwork. I had one of my required therapy at the time just said, I have this thing that I didn't even think I was going to mention to you because you're not going to go anyway. But there's this thing called like breathwork that you might want to try. And I was like, you said I'm not going to go, so I'm going to freaking go. Yeah. And I was like, oh my God. What experience, holy crap. Like, it was life-changing in that moment. I said, I have to do this more. I have to learn more about it. And then I'm like, I loved it so much, and I have seen the change in so many of the participants that I now practice it. I now teach it. I facilitate it because it is that powerful. You can have so much change happen in so little time, and you get to bring the experience. You get to control the whole thing with breath work. Faster, slower, deeper, whatever you want. It's all yours. And you can take it as far as you want. Huge, life-changing, like, oh my gosh, I was able to connect with all the people that have passed. I have been able to connect with my childhood memories and see them differently, to just like, I had a really good hour.
That's legit.
Amazing. Yeah.
I'm curious curious. You should go back to your therapist. I don't know if you still have contact
I do
or not,
actually.
but you should be like, so did you really not think I was gonna go, or was that just for the sake of a
I
challenge?
should ask her that question. I should ask her that question. I have thanked her immensely, saying, you've helped propel me into the place that because I was very reluctant to see her in the beginning because it was required. I was like, thank you for actually committing to me and making that effort. So thank the people that have helped you. Do that as well. Don't forget to mention when you're thinking about them or mention the fact that they have made a big impact on your life because they'll appreciate it too.
Heck yeah. Well, I appreciate you coming on and sharing what you've shared today. This has been awesome.
Yeah, thanks for letting me just explore all of my own little communications and all of the mental health goodies that I have. I have so many more,
Yeah,
and I really appreciate the opportunity to just get excited about talking stuff that I love.
yeah. No, this has been great. I'm hoping. I mean, kind of depends on where everything is like this time next year, but I don't know. It'd be cool to do like a check-in in the future just
Yeah,
to see how things are going and
yeah. Tell you how many retreats we've got lined up at that
yeah,
point.
yeah, that would be very cool.
I'll put that on my calendar so I don't forget.
Yeah, you and me both. Oh, man. Well, I don't know. Looks like there's a couple more people on. Does anybody have any questions? Well, we're kind of maybe wrapping up. I want to be, oh, geez, I'm blowing up over here. I want to be conscious of everybody's time today. So,
Yeah.
um, in the meantime, I will say I can go ahead and throw your handle in the recording, like for if anybody wants to get in touch with you or whatnot.
Yeah.
Um, you also do have your account for coaching,
I do.
so I can as
Sure.
well. Is there a best way for people to contact you if they want to learn more?
Social media is a lot of work for me, so I'm not on it consistently. So if you DM me, I promise I will get back to you, just probably not when you're on the phone. So I have a website that will send me information, especially if you do the contact me page or if you inquire anything like that. My phone number is on there if you really want to text me, although if I don't know who you are, I probably won't get back to you right away. Any communication is welcome. I'm just going to wonder who you are, so please introduce yourself. I also have a link if you're interested in coaching specifically to schedule up for that free phone call. And like I said, sometimes it's just not like I want to coach. Sometimes it's just I need to figure my crap out. That's what they're for. If you need somebody to talk to, that's what it's for. So that's why I've got that out there, both for coaching, kind of as a salesy pitch, and just to help people out. That's what it's for.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I also just got a notification. I have like 15 seconds. I guess we might get cut off. So, with all that said, Anne, thank you so much for hopping on. And everybody else, thank you for joining. I will go ahead and share all the links and the goodies. And